And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Look at the forecast for tonight. We've got a big storm coming up to the eastern Aleutians here. That'll bring storm force winds with gusts to 70 miles an hour or more to the Alaska Peninsula. Storm warnings will continue for the Pribilof Islands, sweeping back down into the Aleutians there, and a front with increasing snow here over the interior. And for tomorrow, this low pulls back to the west and starts to weaken later in the day there. It's going to keep good storm force winds over the Pribilof Islands, wet, windy conditions for the Alaska Peninsula, rain into Togiak Bay and portions of the Kuskokwim Delta, snow on the north side of the front here with a band of mixed precipitation in between, just snow here through the central interior, drier and colder up to the north. And a weak system here keeps a chance of rain in across southern Alaska and the North Gulf Coast. And for Wednesday, that low weakens, starts to slide southward, and so winds will diminish, but it'll stay wet and mild over the eastern Aleutians on up into Bristol Bay. Snow for the southwest coast there to the Pribilofs, but diminishing winds. Snow continues, but starts to taper off here right through this area of the northern Kuskokwim Valley, but look for snow to continue throughout the day for the central and eastern interior. Clear and colder to the north. Still mild with a chance of moisture for the North Gulf Coast. Periods of rain with that weak front for the Panhandle. Coastal water forecast on the south coast. West wind at 10 knots, otherwise central coast south to southeast at 15. And for the north coast, southeast winds 15 to 30 knots. Lynn Canal, Glacier Base, Stevens Passage, southeast at 10. Light variable wind conditions for the southern inner channels. And then for Wednesday, small craft advisories for Clarence Strait, southeast winds 25 knots. Stevens Passage, southeast at 20. And Lynn Canal, southeast at 15. For the south coast, Prince of Wales Island along the coastline there, south at 25 knots. Otherwise, the central coast, west winds at 20 knots, and the north coast, east at 25 knots. Prince William Sound tomorrow, southeast wind 20 knots, southeast at 20 for the eastern North Gulf Coast. Cook Inlet, north to northeast winds 15 to 25 knots, strongest south of the Forelands. East at 30 for Kamishak Bay, southeast 30 for the Barren Islands, and the western North Gulf Coast looking at east winds at 25 knots. And for Wednesday, for Cook Inlet, northeast wind 10 to 15 knots, east 15 for Kamishak Bay, south 15 for the Barren Islands. And for the western North Gulf Coast, those winds coming down to 15 knots from the northeast, and north at 15 knots are Prince William Sound, eastern North Gulf Coast, north to northeast winds 20 to 25 knots. Kodiak Island, small craft advisory, south to southeast winds 25 to 30 knots. Bristol Bay, southeast at 30. Gale warnings for the Alaska Peninsula, south to southeast winds at 30 to 45 knots. And for Wednesday, for the Alaska Peninsula, east-southeast winds 15 to 20 knots. And Prince William Sound, Bristol Bay, east winds at 20 knots, and Kodiak Island, light variable winds now at 10 knots. And for the eastern Aleutians, looks like for Unalaska Island here, that low center right in this area, looking at south to east winds 40 to 45 knots. Over toward Nikolsky, north winds 40 to 45 knots. North winds 45 knots from Atka all the way out to Kiska Island. West of there, not much different, north at 40 knots. And then for Wednesday, Kiska to Shimya, east winds 40 to 45 knots. Amchitka Island, north winds 35 to 40 knots. And Adak and Atka, minimum gales now north at 35. And the eastern Aleutians, north to northeast winds 20 to 30 knots. And for the Pribilof Islands tomorrow, storm warnings, northeast winds 55 knots, northeast at 50 knots for St. Matthew Island. Strong northeast winds 40 knots here for the Kuskokwim Delta coast, and north at 40 knots for the Yukon Delta coast. Norton Sound, another windy day, north at 30, northeast 40 for St. Lawrence Island. And for Wednesday, north winds 30 knots for Norton Sound. And gale warnings, St. Lawrence Island, Yukon Delta coast, north winds at 35 knots. Northeast at 25 for the Kuskokwim Delta coast. And north winds coming down to 40 knots for the Pribilof Islands, as well as St. Matthew Island. And for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast tomorrow, west winds 20 to 25 knots, west at 15 for the central coast, western coast northwest at 15 knots, and north winds 20 to 30 knots for the Chukchi Sea. And then for Wednesday, for the Chukchi Sea, north winds 20 to 25 knots, west-northwest winds of 15 knots for the western central Arctic coast, and west-southwest 20 to 25 knots for the eastern coast.